There's someone in your life right now who knows almost everything about you. They've seen your updates, your travels, your relationship milestones, your lunch, your grief, your glow-up. But you know almost nothing about them. Not because they're boring. Not because nothing's happening in their life. Because they chose it that way. And that choice? It's one of the most psychologically complex decisions a person can make in 2024, and almost nobody talks about what's actually behind it. Here's the uncomfortable question nobody asks. What does it say about a person when they go completely quiet online, while the rest of the world screams for attention? Most people assume the answer is obvious. Shy. Private. Boring. Introverted. But those answers are lazy. Because the real psychology behind people who don't post runs so much deeper than personality type, and when you understand it, you'll never look at silence the same way again. Think about the last time you did something genuinely good. Something that made you proud. Something that moved you. How long did it take before your hand reached for your phone? 3 seconds? 5? That reflex, that almost biological need to share, has been engineered into you. Deliberately. Systematically. Through years of reinforcement so subtle you never felt it happening. And here's where it gets interesting. The people who don't post, they felt it too. They just stopped obeying it. That's not avoidance. That's resistance. And resistance takes something most people quietly underestimate. It takes a specific kind of psychological architecture. Research in behavioral psychology points to something called self-determined motivation, the difference between people who act for internal reasons versus external reward. And people who consistently opt out of social media posting score significantly higher in this trait. They've essentially rewired their relationship with approval. They don't need the loop. But here's what's wild, this isn't about being emotionally closed off. In fact, it's often the opposite. Many people who never post are some of the most emotionally perceptive, deeply feeling individuals you'll ever meet. They just experience things differently. Privately. Without needing a witness. There's a specific phrase I want you to sit with for a second. The unlived moment. It's the experience you had before you could capture it, the one that lived and died entirely inside you, raw and unrecorded. No filter. No framing. Just feeling. For most of us, those moments are becoming rarer. For people who don't post, that's almost every moment. And they'd tell you those are the ones they remember most. So the real question isn't why some people stay quiet online. The real question is, what are the rest of us losing by never going quiet at all? Drop a comment right now. Are you someone who rarely posts? Or do you know someone like that? Let's talk about it, because this is where it gets really interesting. Here's something nobody in the self-help space will tell you directly. Social media didn't just change what we share. It changed what we feel, and when we feel it. There's a psychological phenomenon called anticipatory emotion. It means your brain starts pre-processing an experience not based on what it is, but based on how it'll be received. So, instead of feeling joy in the moment, you feel a version of joy already filtered through imagined reactions. You're not at the concert. You're already thinking about the caption. You're not present at the dinner. You're framing the shot. And the terrifying part? Most people don't even notice it's happening. But some people did notice. And the moment they noticed, everything changed. This is the origin story for a lot of people who stopped posting. Not a dramatic decision. Not a manifesto. Just a quiet moment of clarity where they realized they were living for the feed instead of for themselves. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Psychologists call this self-alienation, the gradual disconnect between who you actually are and the version of you that exists for public consumption. It sounds dramatic. But it happens slowly, invisibly, one curated post at a time. The version of you online starts making decisions for the real you. You go to places because they're photogenic. You buy things because they signal something. You frame your grief in ways that are palatable. Your joy in ways that aren't too much. And somewhere in that editing process, you lose something you can't quite name. The people who don't post, they refuse to lose it. Now, and this is the part that gets psychologically uncomfortable, not everyone who stays silent online is doing it from a place of strength. Some are hiding. Not from the world. From themselves. There's a real difference between someone who doesn't post because they're deeply secure, and someone who doesn't post because the idea of being truly seen, flaws unfiltered, life unpolished, terrifies them. Both look identical from the outside. But inside? Completely different worlds. The first person is quiet because they're full. The second person is quiet because they're afraid. And it takes brutal self-honesty to know which one you are. Ask yourself this, and really sit with it. If you knew absolutely nobody would judge you, would you still stay silent online? If the answer is yes, that's freedom. If the answer suddenly changes, that's information. Because fear of visibility is one of the most underdiagnosed forms of emotional pain in this generation. We've built an entire culture around performance, and the people who can't bring themselves to perform often carry an invisible weight. Not laziness. Not arrogance. Just a wound that never quite healed. The wound of being seen once and misunderstood. Or seen once and ignored. And deciding quietly that it wasn't worth the risk again. Here's what makes this even more layered. The brain doesn't separate social rejection from physical pain. Neurologically, they light up the same regions. Which means every time someone posted something vulnerable and it landed in silence, their brain processed it like an injury. So when people retreat from social media, sometimes it's wisdom. And sometimes it's scar tissue. The beautiful and devastating truth is, sometimes it's both. If any of this is hitting close, hit that like button. Not for the algorithm, but because someone somewhere needs to know they're not the only one who feels this way. There's a certain kind of person who walks into a room and says nothing. Doesn't introduce themselves loudly. Doesn't perform warmth. Doesn't fill the silence with noise. And yet, by the end of the night, everyone remembers them. Not because of what they said. Because of how they listened. That quality, that rare, almost magnetic stillness, is becoming extinct in the digital world. And the people who still carry it? They're almost always the ones you'll never find scrolling their own highlight reel online. There's a concept in depth psychology that Carl Jung touched on long before social media existed. He called it individuation, the process of becoming fully, authentically yourself. Not the self that gets approval. Not the self that fits the narrative. The self that exists when no one is watching. And here's the thing about individuation, it cannot happen under constant observation. You cannot become yourself while performing yourself simultaneously. It's psychologically impossible. Which means every person who stays invisible online might be doing something the rest of us are too distracted to attempt. They're becoming. Quietly. Privately. Without an audience. And that process, that unwitnessed transformation, is often the most profound kind. Think about every version of yourself that never made it to the internet. The 3 a.m. version. The version that failed quietly and rebuilt quietly. The version that fell in love with something small and ordinary and felt embarrassed by how much it mattered. Those versions are more you than anything you've ever posted. The people who don't post, they live there. In that unposted space. And they've learned something most of us spend years trying to find. That your inner life doesn't need an audience to be valid. But here's the final layer. The one that ties everything together. We're living in a moment in history where attention has become currency. Where visibility equals value. Where if you're not building a personal brand, some part of culture whispers that you're falling behind. And in that environment, choosing silence isn't passive. It's radical. It's a quiet declaration that says, my existence is not content. My life is not a product. My moments belong to me. And there's a kind of dignity in that, an almost rebellious self-respect that doesn't announce itself because it doesn't need to. The people who don't post aren't waiting to be discovered. They're not building toward a reveal. They're just living fully, messily, privately, deeply, in a world that forgot what that looks like. And maybe the most important question this video leaves you with isn't about them. It's about you. When did you last experience something, truly experience it, without instantly thinking about how to share it? When did you last let a moment belong entirely to yourself? Because in a world that profits from your attention, protecting your presence is the most quietly powerful thing you can do. And if something in this video made you stop, made you feel something real, that feeling isn't accidental. That's the part of you that still lives offline. The part that's still whole. Subscribe if you want more of this. Not the polished version of psychology. The real kind. The kind that sits with you long after the screen goes dark. Because that's the only kind worth making.